The ocean breeze was gentle that evening, carrying laughter, music, and the scent of fried food through the air. It was supposed to be a perfect day, one of those golden California sunsets that make everything feel lighter, softer, and full of hope. But for one girl sitting quietly near the edge of the pier, that peace was about to be shattered in a way no one could have imagined. Sometimes, the worst moments in life come without warning. But so do the best ones. And sometimes, when cruelty rises, kindness rises louder. Before we begin, take a moment to support stories that remind us of humanity. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments on Corner of Kind Choices, because every small act of kindness matters more than we realize. Emily Parker was 14 years old, with soft brown hair tucked behind her ears and a quiet smile that rarely left her face. She loved the ocean more than anything. Even though she couldn't walk without assistance, the sound of waves made her feel free in a way nothing else could. Her wheelchair sat angled toward the horizon, where the sun slowly dipped into the Pacific, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Beside her, her older brother Jake leaned against the railing, scrolling on his phone but keeping a protective eye on her. "You okay?" he asked, glancing over. Emily nodded, her eyes still fixed on the water. "Yeah. I just like watching." Jake smiled. "You always do." They didn't come to the pier often. Their mom worked long hours, and getting Emily around wasn't always easy. But today had been special, a rare break, a chance to feel normal. At least, that's what Emily thought. A group of teenagers approached from behind, loud and careless. Their laughter wasn't joyful, it was sharp, mocking, the kind that made people uncomfortable. They noticed Emily almost immediately. "Hey," one of them said, nudging another. "Look at that." Emily stiffened slightly but kept her eyes forward. She had learned to ignore people like this. It wasn't new. "Move," another boy snapped, stepping closer. "You're blocking the view." Jake straightened. "She's not in your way. Go around." The tallest boy smirked. "Or what?" Emily felt her chest tighten. She hated confrontation. All she wanted was to be invisible. "Come on," Jake said, trying to stay calm. "Let's just." Before he could finish, one of the boys kicked the side of Emily's wheelchair. It jolted forward, startling her. "Move, cripple," the boy shouted, laughing as his friends joined in. The world seemed to freeze for a second. Emily's hands trembled as she gripped the armrests. Her face flushed, not from anger, but from something deeper: hurt, humiliation, a pain she couldn't put into words. Jake stepped forward, his fists clenched. "Don't touch her." But there were 5 of them, and they weren't backing down. "What are you gonna do?" one of them sneered. Another shove came, harder this time. Emily gasped as the chair lurched dangerously close to the edge of the pier. Her heart raced. For a split second, fear overwhelmed everything else. And then, a new sound cut through the chaos. The low, rumbling growl of engines. At first, it was distant. But it grew louder, deeper, like thunder rolling in from the horizon. Heads began to turn. Conversations faded. Even the bullies paused, confused. From the entrance of the pier, a line of motorcycles appeared. One by one, they rolled in, their chrome glinting in the fading sunlight. Leather jackets, heavy boots, and determined faces followed. It wasn't just a few riders, it was dozens. They didn't rush. They didn't shout. They simply surrounded. The bullies looked around, suddenly unsure. The laughter had vanished from their faces. "What the?" one of them muttered. The motorcycles came to a stop, forming a quiet circle around Emily, Jake, and the group of teens. Engines idled, filling the air with a steady hum that felt almost protective. Then, one rider stepped forward. He was older, maybe in his 50s, with a gray beard and kind but firm eyes. He removed his helmet slowly, looking directly at the boys. "Is there a problem here?" he asked, his voice calm but unshakable. No one answered. Jake glanced at him, surprised. "They were. We saw," another biker said gently, stepping closer to Emily. Her voice was warm, reassuring. "You're okay, sweetheart?" Emily nodded, though her eyes were still wide. The tall boy tried to recover his confidence. "We were just joking around. It's not a big deal." The older biker tilted his head slightly. "Funny. Didn't sound like a joke." More riders dismounted, standing nearby. They didn't crowd or threaten. They just stood. A quiet wall of presence. The kind that made cruelty feel small. "Let's go," one of the bullies whispered to the others. No one argued. Within seconds, they were gone, disappearing into the crowd, their earlier bravado replaced with silence. The pier seemed to breathe again. Emily let out a shaky breath she didn't realize she'd been holding. The older biker crouched down to her level. "Hey there," he said softly. "You all right?" She nodded, her voice barely above a whisper. "Thank you." He smiled. "No thanks needed. We look out for each other. That's how it should be." Jake ran a hand through his hair. "I don't even know how to." "Just be there for her," the biker said. "You're doing fine." One of the riders handed Emily a small seashell. "For good luck," she said with a wink. Emily's lips curved into a small, genuine smile. "Why did you stop?" she asked, curiosity breaking through her fear. The biker chuckled. "Because someone always should." Another rider added, "We were just passing through. Saw what was happening. Couldn't ignore it." Emily looked around at them, these strangers who had turned a terrifying moment into something safe, something different. "You didn't have to," she said. "No," the older biker replied. "But we chose to." There was a quiet strength in those words. They stayed for a few minutes, chatting lightly, making sure Emily felt okay again. The tension slowly melted away, replaced by something softer. Before leaving, the older biker put his helmet back on and gave a small nod. "Take care of yourself," he said. "And don't let anyone make you feel less than you are." Emily held the seashell tightly. "I won't." As the motorcycles roared back to life and disappeared into the evening, the pier felt different. Not because the world had changed, but because something inside Emily had. She turned back to the ocean, but this time, her smile was stronger. Jake leaned beside her again. "That was unreal." Emily nodded. "Yeah. But it was also kind of beautiful." "Beautiful?" he asked. She looked at the seashell in her hand. "Yeah. Because they didn't know me. And they still cared." Jake was quiet for a moment. Then he smiled. "Yeah. I guess they did." The sun finally slipped below the horizon, leaving behind a sky full of fading colors. But for Emily, something brighter remained. She had seen cruelty, but she had also seen kindness rise up against it. Loud, unexpected, and powerful. And that mattered. Because kindness doesn't always come from people we know. Sometimes, it comes from strangers who choose to stand up, step in, and remind us that we're not alone. Sometimes, it arrives with the roar of engines. And sometimes, it leaves behind something small, a seashell, a moment, a memory that changes everything. If there's one thing this story reminds us, it's that kindness is a choice we can make every single day. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be powerful. You just have to care enough to act. Because even the smallest act of kindness can echo louder than cruelty ever could. So the next time you see someone in need, remember this moment. Be the reason someone feels safe. Be the reason someone believes in good again. And most importantly, be kind.